Okay, good evening everyone, welcome. We'll begin the open session this evening by asking for approval of the agenda. Are any additions or deletions on tonight's agenda? Do that right now?
No.
It's just the-
Add to that.
Yeah.
Other business.
Other business.
With the rest of
Number
them.
4.
Number 6. Under council.
Oh, is that 6?
I hear you.
Any disclosure of interest this evening? Then we will begin with our delegation from the Schreiber Public Library. Welcome.
Good evening. You all know who I am, maybe except Nathan. My name is Rose Godden, and I'm the chair of the library board. And Donna and I are doing this together.
Good.
I think you've all got a copy of our budget. You'll notice that there's a 3.89% increase to the tax base. Most of that we have absolutely no control over because of pay equity.
Delegation's done?
Yeah.
Just giving everybody a chance to find it.
We got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. The only increase that we're asking for is 1 hour per week for our CEO. We are way understaffed. We have 3 employees to run the library, and it's just simply not enough. Donna goes in, she does circ desk, in the morning, and if somebody can't make it, she's stuck doing it. She can't get her own work done. So she needs minimum of 1 hour a week. We would like to get more, but we're not being greedy. And that's our only request at the moment for this year. Well, not quite. We are looking at maybe getting an intern again this year, but we do have part of the money that we need in reserve. Get up here. You know the numbers better than I do. We need what? We need 5,000 from council to get another intern this year. If we can't, we're going to ask for it next year to get an intern. Because that does help greatly, taking up some of the slack.
Was there one last year?
2017,
17?
yeah.
Well, what does this represent then in the 2020 budget? You have intern here and across it's 12,580. What does that represent?
That would be, okay, wait a minute, I gotta find it on here.
It's the third line down under expenses.
Yeah, 12, okay, that would be,
That's budgeted for 4 months from
Yeah.
September.
For
So so the library has enough to pay for half of it. We have some money in our reserve fund for it. However, we don't have enough to pay for the full cost for the benefits for the intern. The other issue is that last year we had $5,000 in our budget that was returned to the municipality, and that came from the community wellness grant, and that was supposed to be used for a digitization project. However, we did not, we weren't successful in finding a grant for it. So we just wanted to let you know that that money was returned, and the possibility of maybe looking at that amount as to putting it towards the intern would be a consideration. Having an intern that's 35 hours a week, and it's certainly better value for our dollar. I'd like to also make a comment that for 18 years the library received CAP money for an internship from the ministry, and that was 100% subsidized, and that meant we had an intern for about 20 hours a week. So that is no longer, that we lost that grant about 2 years ago. So that's where it affected my hours in terms of my having to work in the morning. So half my time is spent at circulation and that's reduced my administration considerably. I'm only at 26 hours a week. So that's something that we definitely would like you to consider.
What are the dates for the intern? Starting dates?
Well, we're projecting for September. Put in the application. So that would be a 1-year term.
Commencing in September.
Yes, yes. So we certainly have the money to pay for half of the intern for the benefits, but the issue we're going to run into is next year, is the $5,000
Yeah.
additional cost for it. I'd like to hand out, this is our, just a quick by the numbers for the library. It's part of our annual report. So I'd just like to kind of spend a couple of minutes just going over our library. And so the mission of our library is it's a community organization committed to the open provision of library resources and services that will enhance personal and community quality of life. So we serve the area of Schreiber, and including educational, recreational programming for all ages to access research tools and services. And we also have a user agreement with the Rossport Local Services Board, and then the TRAP as our representative. And unfortunately, we have a bit of a revenue loss that will affect us this year with the service agreement, because this agreement is now going to be split with the Terrace Bay Public Library. And some of our recent accomplishments, especially in 2018, 19, we were accredited by the Ontario Library Guidelines Council, and we're one of only 4 libraries in Northern Ontario. We've offered 143 programs to just over 4,000 participants, and our Facebook statistics more than doubled to over 64,000 hits. And in 2019, they actually doubled again. So we really have a very strong Facebook presence, and we use that for marketing. We'll post our services, our readers advisory. We have an archival piece that we that people know for all kinds of information. So some of our challenges are staffing to keep up with the level of service and programming. We have provincial funding cuts, which I talked a bit about, rising costs of materials, e-resources, accessibility, lack of space, aging, and a declining population. And our opportunities were increasing our capacity through community partnerships and community-led initiatives. We have strong relationships with regional libraries in OLS North, and we have grant project collaborations between libraries and other departments. Regional libraries are local service clubs and service groups. And we contribute through providing an excellent social return on investment through our educational, cultural, recreation, and wellness-based initiatives. And we reduce social isolation and encourage community participation. So we have like the one-page quick at a glance to some of the statistics. So what we're finding over the, we're just completing our strategic plan. We're working on a new one. So some of our priorities that we're looking at are, again, inspiring creativity, innovation through multimedia partnerships, enhancing library operations, and enhancing user space. So these are some of the areas that we're hoping to focus on in our new plan. And some of the highlights, and last year, our programs increased about 1,500 to just over 6,000 people. Our computer increased use. We have a very active after-school program. The children are in there regularly playing on the computer and playing Wii games and looking at our resources. Visits to the library are just over 6,000, and as I mentioned, our Facebook has doubled. Some of our programs, we have, again, our community garden. We have a large variety of literacy programs, school visits. We have Blue Spruce reading program in the elementary schools. That program has been going on for about 20 years. And the life cycle, we have summer reading, reading adventures, Lego to the library, gaming, we have adult book clubs. Last year, the community garden celebrated 15 years, and we do things like author book signing, Winter Carnival. We're involved with like Winter Carnival and Heritage Days, and we have our annual quilt show. So again, some of the grants that we have pursued are for summer students. The Souls Internet Connectivity, that has been subsidizing our internet in the library for the past 20 years. And we have our annual operating grant that we received, and we've had a variety of NOHFC interns in the past. So of course our latest initiative that we're developing is the Schreiber Media Center. So these are very, we're very active in the library, we keep very busy, and we certainly appreciate all the support that the municipality council has provided in the past.
Any questions from the ladies?
I'd heard your trip to Toronto was very successful. And they were quite impressed by your track record.
Well, I did a presentation at the OLA Super Conference. I was part of a panel discussion where there were 4 libraries that talked about leadership. So we were able to share experiences and stories. And our library, we've won a number of awards through innovation and special projects. So that was very good to be able to share that as well.
Very good.
You've been very good for the community, and you've been very active in it and all that too, so, yeah.
Yes. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Resolution number 36-20, moved by Councillor Crowe, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held January 28, 2020 be accepted as circulated. All those in favor? Resolution number 37-20, moved by Councillor Stefurek, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that the minutes of the special council meeting held January 30th, 2020 be accepted as circulated. All those in favor? Resolution number 38-20, moved by Councillor Crowe, seconded by Councillor Stefurek, that the Council of the Township of Schreiber authorize the CAO clerk to enter into a participation agreement with Canadian Tods Limited to permit Schreiber's Railway Museum sign, Schreiber Beach sign, and the Casque Isle Hiking Trail sign for the year 2020 in the amount of $2,280, excluding applicable taxes. All in favor? Resolution number 39-20, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that council authorize the write-off of property taxes in the amount of $5,057.64 for the following accounts. Roll number 585-1000000324400. Roll number 585-100000205-100. Roll number 585-100000334-100. Roll number 585-100000334-104. Roll number 585-10000030770. and roll number 5851-00000332900. All those in favor?
That's a lot of zeros.
Why they got so many at the end?
You want to read them back to me? Resolution number 40-20, moved by Councillor Mullen, seconded by Councillor Kraus, that council accept the proposal from Municipal Compliance Solutions in the amount of $2,150, excluding applicable taxes, for the review of the Township of Schreiber bylaws 758 and 34-99.
Can I ask one question? Is that they're going to do a review and present it to us, right? And that's their cost? Before we go
Yes.
ahead with the...
Yeah.
You will have the final right to vote on whether you want that bylaw amended or which portions you like from
But they're
that
not going to
suggestion.
recommend the wording of the bylaws for changes, because remember at the last meeting I mentioned, I think anytime we would talk about certain bylaws, like there was one about looking after properties, where we get the people involved to say things about it, especially in like now where people want more natural gardens and all those things, because we're proposing to put structure together, how people use their property, right?
Absolutely, we can do that as part of the rollout of this update.
There should be
Get some
community
public
input,
feedback.
that's what I want, yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
So this is just to go through and to
Yeah.
the proposal.
Okay?
Yeah.
All those in favor then?
That-
Resolution 41-20, moved by Councillor Mullen, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that checks issued on the general bank account in the month of January 2020 in the amount of $909,776.14 for general accounts payable be approved and ratified. All those in favor? Resolution number 42-20, moved by Councillor Stupiric, seconded by Councillor Kraus, that bank debits issued on a general bank account in the month of January 2020 in the amount of $51,614.13 for payroll be approved and ratified. All those in favor? Resolution number 43-20, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that bylaw 6-2020, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3-2019 to the execution of a tax arrears extension agreement pursuant to section 378 of the Municipal Act 2001, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor?
Bylaw 6 is amending bylaw 3.
Yes.
Do I understand that right?
Yes. Resolution number 44-20, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Stefurek, that bylaw 7-2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 4-2019, the execution of a tax arrears extension agreement pursuant to section 378 of the Municipal Act 2001 be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Resolution number 45-20, moved by Councillor Stefurek, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bylaw 8-2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2-2019, the execution of a tax arrears extension agreement pursuant to section 378 of the Municipal Act 2001 be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Resolution number 46-20, moved by Councillor Kraus, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that bylaw 9-2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 37-2019, the execution of a tax arrears extension agreement pursuant to section 378 of the Municipal Act 2001 be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Resolution 47-20, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Stefurek, that bylaw 10-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the subscription for shares in 2729028 Ontario Inc., the LNG Corporation, a liquid gas distribution corporation, and the execution for a unanimous shareholders agreement governing the affairs of the LNG Corporation be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Getting writer's cramp here.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Resolution number 48-20, moved by Councilor Mullen, seconded by Councilor Kraus, that bylaw 11-2020, being a bylaw to appoint David Morrow to fill the vacancy in the office of councillor in the Township of Schreiber, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. That brings to a close our council portion of the meeting. We'll go into the committee of the whole, starting off with our Schreiber Senior Center Committee meeting minutes. Any questions on
They got a pretty good schedule there. Some of the activities that they're doing during Winter Carnival,
that?
so some good stuff there.
Yeah, they're keeping very busy. Okay, the next one up, the Occupational Health and Safety Committee minutes. Any questions on that?
Just one question on the back steps. Does that refer to the steps down here, down the
Yeah.
hall?
By the weaving room.
At the end of the
So what's the
building.
plan there? Is it gonna be accessible, or what kind of repairs are gonna be made there? Because the seniors were asking about having that as an access point for their,
The quilting.
the senior center and the quilting and
Yeah.
so on, so. And they have lunches there as well.
Actually, even at the moment, like, are those doors normally locked from the outside, back down there?
I think so, yeah.
Typically.
Yeah.
Is that something that can be changed and open to the public, or?
It's hard to monitor it though, kid, because it's in the back.
Well,
hall.
yeah, is that why, or?
Something we can look at. I know that in circumstances when we do need, I think for instance for drive test and all, when that's done, we do keep those doors open.
Right.
That ties into, again, part of, again, this accessibility plan that we want to eventually update, right, to add that to the list.
Right.
You know, for greater accessibility through the building, whether it's, again, getting one of those push buttons to open those doors.
Right.
So, certainly, you know, something to consider.
Yeah, if that area is being utilized more, then it just makes sense into the better access.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a concrete platform right now, right? But it's
Yeah.
not that high, so would it just be a ramp added onto the back that they could comply?
Essentially, we'd have to look at that, right? And it's again, prioritizing again, you know, in terms for the building is accessible because
Yeah,
of the
from the
ramp
front,
at the
yeah.
front.
Right, right.
And the back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's one there, right?
So that's it.
Yeah, it's flat ground.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily need a ramp back there, but,
Well, it's a step about this high, I think, concrete.
Mhm.
Yeah, there.
so there's 2 or 3 or 4 steps.
Is it that high? Hmm.
I think so.
Never go that way.
And they need a bit of a touch-up, I understand, but I don't think it's,
And
I
that's,
mean, it's certainly doable.
Hmm.
and that's also part of, you know, why we need to start listing, again, just identifying any areas for barriers for
Accessibility.
accessibility, because it's gonna be, again, prioritizing which one of these we wanna do first, right? The ramp there, or, you know, a button at the front, but we need to go through a list and then prioritize which ones we're gonna accomplish first.
Okay, we'll move on to the Schreiber Discovery Center change orders 8 and 9 report.
So the recommendation here is that the Council of the Township of Schreiber authorize the CAO clerk to approve additional service request number 5 at the cost of $900 before applicable taxes. Approve change order number 9 at the cost of $20,836.20 before applicable taxes. And the Hydro One Service Connect at the cost of $10,297.69 before applicable taxes. In terms of the details, the change order number 8 that I haven't put forward yet, this change order introduces increases to the project scope of work, especially for the demolition of the portion of the walls for the storage car. That was that, we call it the log car. It was right next to the cenotaph, if you remember. It had all those pipes.
Yeah. What do they want to do with it, though?
It's the current condition, you know, the side that was always facing the roadway there near the cenotaph.
The north side where
that side was done pretty well, but if you ever
the back was
went behind,
just plywood.
Exactly.
It was painted over when
Yeah.
they did the reno.
So the condition wasn't that great, and when the architect kind of inspected it, we noticed that there was a bit of water damage as well. So their recommendation was to remove all that wood there, put in new wood, and put a new finish as well as a new door. So
They're not gonna scrap the car, though. They're just gonna
No.
fix it up to make it a bit more weatherproof and everything.
exactly, it's just a bit of a reno.
It has a lot of potential.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's for storage and everything else. And isn't the hydro system gonna sit in there as well?
Hydro system.
Originally, they were gonna have the main boxes coming in for the electricity. Weren't they gonna go through
No,
that?
right now, in terms of electrical connections, it's been out of the scope of the project.
Mm.
But in terms of it having electrical connection, that is something that we'd wanna do. It does have electricity in it, yeah. Yeah, so it certainly could be connected to a panel somewhere. So that at the moment, you know, my recommendation here is maybe we can look around for some local pricing maybe for this, for that kind of work. I just found that, you know, again, the 20 grand is, right now in this stage of the project, it isn't critical to the main components of the project. This is something that we, you know, like to do to upgrade its experience, appearance. So that's why I just said to hold off for now, and then I'll revisit it later once we get some quotes maybe from local contractors.
Yeah.
The additional services request number 5, this is essentially, again, the drawings and you know, kind of blueprints that were required by the architect. We required them to produce these so that the general contractor is able to provide a quote, as in the change order number 8. Our recommendation again was that we pay for it because it is something that we'd end up using in terms of getting pricing on. Change order number 9. So this request introduces an increase to the construction contract due to additional electrical work needed at the Discovery Center. The level of detail in the original electrical documents prepared by KGS at the time was not adequate for the electrical trade to account for all the scope of the distribution service. Unfortunately, the missing scope was not caught during the tender stage when trade questions could have asked and have been answered. Therefore, the cost for the supply and installation of the additional electrical components that were not included in the original trade price are warranted now and are required to complete the work. It was part of the explanation actually that was given to me by the architect. That's why it's about $20,000. It was essentially when we went back to a previous change order where we were getting rid of the hydro pole, which was directly in front of the Discovery Center. That change happened, but they did not follow through with changing the electrical work inside to accommodate that change. It seems to be, you know, kind of a disappointing mistake, but it was a mistake that was made, and nonetheless, now we're, you know,
But a mistake made by who?
That's what I wanted to
KGS.
know, because they made lots of mistakes with
No, I
we had the
haven't.
pothole issue and we had the.
I 20 grand.
In this case, it's a more difficult circumstance because KGS was subcontracted
Mhm.
by number 10, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah. It's
Good.
essentially, for it to have been done correctly, what should have been done is this price should have been added to that change, that original change order to get that pole removed. And then if we knew it cost, you know, however much that it was for that pole, plus this additional 20 grand, right, then we would know the full
Mm.
scope of making that change. But now we are very much in the situation that we need this pass to continue. So that's with regard to the 20 grand. Next is the Hydro One Service Connect. This is something that's required and we'll have to do it. It's $10,000 that we'd have to put forward to that. In terms of the whole project, there's about $155,000 in contingency funds. We've utilized about $41,000 in terms of these contingency funds. The changes that I've talked to you today about, so it would be approximately $30,000. So approximately a total of $73,000 in contingency funds will be used. That's 47% of the contingency being used,
leaves you with 90.
53% remaining.
About 90 grand then remaining of that 160. I think.
Yeah,
You can see you said 70 and you had 160, so it's about.
80.
Yeah.
Are there gonna be any more surprises?
Sure.
Well, if you, now they wouldn't be surprised.
But the hydro thing, I mean, that you would think that would have been addressed from the beginning, because
Yep.
with the installation, you have to budget for that, because it's gotta get connected.
Exactly.
And that
that's
seems
what
so
we-
weird that all of a sudden, this close into the project, it's like, oh, we need 10 grand to hook up the electricity.
Exactly, so, you know, that should have been straightforward.
Ah.
Again, we again tried to clarify with the architect, we were under the assumption that, you know, it was, again, covered. When we
Mm.
typically get a general
Even-
contractor, we want them to complete the full scope
just
for
said-
this, but yeah.
So even if we missed it, which we probably did, is that not what they're hired for? Like, I don't mean to be smart.
No.
I'm just
but
trying to
No, you're-
understand it.
You're absolutely correct.
I think you're right,
Yeah.
Andy.
Yep.
They
At
dropped
least-
the ball.
So.
They dropped the ball.
So we're getting nailed 20 grand for their
Yeah.
mistake.
And that's the third
But
time.
from
And
what
I,
I,
and I go, and I shouldn't do it, but I go back to the manhole. That was a
Exactly, yeah.
$15,000 mistake.
but from what I understand, to try to chase them down for to hold them accountable money-wise is difficult or costly.
Mm.
Is that right? And that's what I understand.
Absolutely.
But then again, too, you know, maybe, I mean, you don't know, like, maybe they accomplished what they expected and got paid for to do.
Mm.
Like, you know, like, it all depends on the original contract. What did it exactly say? Maybe something got left out, so it didn't get done, like, who
Yeah,
knows?
but that's like 3 things now in as many months.
Certainly, the manhole and this,
Yeah.
right, so.
And the moving
again,
of the pole.
The moving of the pole was something that wasn't necessarily a mistake. It just tied into
But it could have
this
tied
mistake.
in with this one.
Because
Yeah.
when that pole moved, they should have.
That should have been the next thing in
Next
their
thing.
mind. Oh, we're moving
Yeah.
the pole,
Yeah.
So
needs
how
to
do
be
we connect
connected.
it to the rest of the building,
Yeah,
right, you
yeah.
know, and all that, so.
They're the experts and,
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's disappointing.
It is.
Yeah. Certainly
And-
don't like
And
surprises.
KGS is not gonna come good for anything. They're washing their hands of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, with
Well,
regards to
we're-
this, I've had conversations directly with number 10, because number 10 is the company essentially responsible. They subcontract to KGS, and ultimately, if we have any issues with this, we would be, you know, taking it up to number 10, and
Mhm.
it's gonna be their responsibility to hammer things out with, you know, KGS, so, again, it's their subconsultant
I
on this
just need to
project.
force their hand on it, because
Right,
every
right.
time they turn around, they're looking to us
I mean,
for hand.
we're definitely well within our contingency plan, but
It's frustrating.
that's very
It
frustrating.
makes me wonder about what's gonna happen 3 months down the line. We're still not close to opening. we've only got a few bucks left in that little plan.
I know there's lots of red flags going up and check marks going up on my paper. Or Kate, I won't say it. Certain companies.
So back to the recommendation, is that okay?
Well, I guess we gotta do it, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be done.
No other,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
no way around it. So,
Okay, so we'll go ahead with that. Anything else, Nathan?
No, that's it for this report.
Okay, then we'll move on to the mural installation report. Everybody had a chance to look at that?
So the recommendation here is that the council of the Township of Schreiber hire Nesbitt Contracting to put up 6 12 by 8 foot murals in the gym of the municipal office building for the sum of $1,260 plus applicable taxes.
And there's only 6 of them, eh? There's way more sitting up in the back there.
There's
So
about
there's-
3 more panels.
There's 3 more panels and they go in, they are slated at this point in time to go into the pavilion.
Pavilion.
Downtown once it's,
Yeah.
yeah, we've double checked and triple checked.
yeah, we've talked about these murals for a long time, so
Yeah.
time
And
to,
they're gonna be safe in there with the kids playing basketball and stuff? That was my only thought when I saw that.
Well, you gotta look at where the murals are up at the hockey rink.
yeah, the right.
Yeah, they're right in the
They're
doorway
there
when you
where
walk
teams
in.
are coming off after
Yeah.
losing and everything. I mean, if somebody
Yeah.
wants to sit in there and throw basketball at them, I mean,
Yeah.
but
Not
I doubt
intentionally.
it's gonna happen.
That's about as good a place as you can put them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be high up enough anyways along the top,
Yeah.
3 on each side of it.
And it's gonna look good.
Oh, it looked
It'll
really
look
nice,
Really
yeah.
good in there, so,
So everybody's
They
fine
need to
with
go
that?
somewhere, yeah.
yeah,
Go with it.
yeah, I think let's do it.
Okay, sounds good. Next one up is the Winter Carnival report.
The recommendation here is that the council of the Township of Schreiber approve the Winter Carnival 2020 event plan. The net event cost is estimated to be $245.
Yeah, pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, everybody fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay, the Winter Carnival Last Chance Prize Report.
Over here, it's a recommendation that the council of the Township of Schreiber donate a 3-month gym membership in the amount of $87.55 plus applicable tax to the public library as a prize for the Winter Carnival Last Chance Draw.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Everybody in favor of that? Good. Senior Skate Program Report.
Recommendation here is that the council of the Township of Schreiber approve the creation of a senior skate program. The senior skating would be once a day at 9 a.m. The skating shinny pass would be waived for any senior center member using the ice during the senior skate. Members would still be required to pay $1 every time they went skating, used on a honor system.
Yeah.
We never had a senior program for skate before, eh? Well, I guess we didn't really have the senior center though either. Because they've been putting out a lot of programs.
Yeah, I don't think we did. I mean, they've always had public skating.
Yeah.
But not,
Yeah.
you know, specifically senior.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it's.
What is it, available every morning?
Yep,
At 9.
9 till, it says 9 till.
I think 9 to
Yeah.
10, I think it's 1 hour.
Sounds a lot easier than the hockey I play Saturday or Thursday, every Thursday at 8.
At night.
Yeah, just one more thing for the seniors
Speaking of
to
seniors.
participate in.
Everybody's fine with that
Yeah.
then? Good.
So you go have a sleep after the hockey game, get up at 9, put on your fitness skates and go for tomorrow.
The Youth Committee Cotton Candy Machine Purchase.
So in this case, the youth committee would use the machine as a source of revenue during their events, as well as the Township of Schreiber events. This item would be in addition to their popcorn machine pop and snacks revenue. Cotton candy will be sold for $3 a bag. About 217 bags would be needed to be sold to recoup the cost. And the machine comes with 5 containers of flavored sugar, a full box of cotton candy bags, and a box of cotton candy cones. The machine would be essentially used during movie nights, dances, winter carnival, heritage days, some baseball games, and other township held events.
Yeah, cotton candy never gets old. It was a
No,
hit when I was a
that's-
kid.
I think it's.
Isn't there health risks now with
Who cares?
Yeah.
sugar levels and stuff?
You gotta live on the edge, eh?
Yeah, the kids are really keen to get that,
Yeah.
they wanna have it.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Food bank
idea.
is willing to sell it to them, so why
Yeah,
not?
and they work hard, those kids.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
they
do,
do.
yeah. So everybody's in
Yeah.
agree with that then?
Yeah. Hopefully they'll look after it.
The sensational hot rods report.
Recommendation here that council sign the live performance contract with the Sensational Hot Rods. The band would not pay for the rental and would receive ticket sales instead. The town would then be responsible for selling tickets, advertising, and operating the bar and the overall event. The town would receive revenue from the bar sales. The expenses would be for radio advertisement, liquor license, designated driver, and staffing for the night. So it's a bit of a trade kind of agreement.
Yeah.
They get ticket sales, we get the bar sales.
Mm.
I think it's
Was that the
another
same
event.
agreement we had with the CCR band last summer when they were there?
Yeah. I think so.
What's the reasoning behind June the 20th? I'm just
It's
curious.
the back of the, oh, it's not Heritage Days
No,
then, that's
no, I think
No,
it's
it's a
just.
month before.
Oh, yeah, it's
A
just
month
before, I was thinking it was tied in with
Yeah,
that.
I
but
think
it
a lot of
doesn't.
people thought that it would be tied in with Heritage Days, but it's not. I think it's just something, you know, another thing to
Yeah.
have the town
Go
do.
to, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody fine with that then?
Well, it won't really cost us anything, so.
No, we're making
Yeah,
a few
we'll
bucks
make money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Schreiber Senior Center report. Any questions on that? It's a busy place.
Yeah, the
Again,
lunches are
yeah.
doing really well, and the Ramoli's doing really well.
Yeah.
Do they have a gambling license?
They talked about trying to get a poker tournament going, and they need somebody that with some expertise in playing poker
Yeah. Hey, Mooney.
to get it going. Yeah, I think we already.
Good face.
Yeah. So, they're always thinking about new things to do.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
And the lunches have been successful. All the stuff has been successful. The numbers are there.
yeah, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, bylaw enforcement officers report. Any questions on that?
Any word about the coyote, what happened? Or haven't seen it around.
No, haven't seen it done.
Went right down our street a couple
Yeah.
of weeks ago.
Yeah, he was hanging around over here too,
Mhm.
but haven't heard anything. We contacted the OPP, but I haven't heard anybody that's seen it lately, so I don't know.
Jan might know.
Haven't seen it in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
There's a few of them around Rossport too, so.
yeah. Uh-huh, so he come in from Rossmore.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Dan?
You brought them in.
Yeah, brought 'em in.
In the back of your truck.
I'll have to look next time I drive in.
Building and demolition permit report. Any questions on that?
Yeah, what's the $75,000 building value referred to?
That refers to the
A
cost-
demolition?
Yeah, the cost of the improvements. Let's see, it was a demolition. No, in this case, it was a building permit, so it was an addition, so to speak, yeah.
That's a building permit
Yep, a building permit.
for a building of $75,000 value?
Or it could be improvements to the building,
Yeah.
yeah, up to that value. yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Fire chief, second report on fire department user fees bylaw. Any questions for the chief?
Anything new on that, John?
No, that's a
Pretty
follow-up to a
standard.
question that was asked
Yeah.
here back in the fall as to where would we apply those fees?
Yeah.
So the report is just suggesting, as we've discussed, that they go back into the capital reserve fund for the fire truck replacement.
Okay.
And then there's no change to the draft bylaw. other
Okay.
than 2019 was updated to 2020.
Okay.
And I removed one reference at the very bottom of the Schedule A, where it listed the actual MTO rate for 2019. That was changed to just read the MTO rate as adjusted every November.
Okay.
So that is the only change to that.
Yeah. Okay, everybody fine with that?
Yep.
The volunteer appreciation event report. Questions on that?
The recommendation here, that council endorse the volunteer appreciation event plan, and that the proposed event would provide free food and drinks to the township volunteers. The event would be located at the community hall on February 26, 2020. The estimated expense is $1,666.91. This does not include radio advertisement.
We don't need radio ads for that, because you're just gonna tell all the people are volunteers anyway. Where do you get weird numbers like that, 166 and 91 cents? Did he actually go out and get quotes for like the food and?
Exactly, we have quotes for everything.
That's such so weird down to the penny. We could do
Yep.
about $1,700 more or less. Oh, is there something going on the 26th as well?
February
When's the
26th.
other meeting we're having? There's a public meeting. Is that the 25th?
It's 25th.
25. Okay. So it's the day after.
Yep.
Are people notified of this, or how do you?
Well, there will be, if we agree with this tonight.
And then,
Or you just put it out there that, I mean, people know who volunteers are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they know who they are.
I guess, you know, it's
And
just
then
kind
the
of
other-
an honor system, I guess, I don't know.
And the other part of that is to try to recruit
new people as well, to bring them in, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody that's interested in becoming a volunteer, like, they'll show up and,
So in other words, anybody could actually go, especially if they have any kind of interest in that.
I think,
Yeah.
I think that.
'Cause it's
yeah,
good
that
for
was-
recruiting,
That
like you
was
say, if you
our,
want.
that was our idea, come out of the Economic Development Committee, and actually, we talked about it here
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
About what we can do to increase the volunteer base,
Yeah,
so,
it's a good idea.
yeah.
You just don't have a time,
Yeah, I believe it's at 7, so
so it's an evening event then.
should be in the event plan.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I only see it with 26, 20, but I didn't see them.
Yeah.
Everybody's fine with that then?
Yeah, I think we have to,
Okay.
right?
And then the last one is the local business meet and greet.
Similar, right?
Yep. So a recommendation here that council endorse the local business meet and greet event plan, and the local business meet and greet event will take place basically the next day. That's on February 27th at 7 p.m., but this time in room 124 at the municipal complex. See if there's any remaining food, we may bring it over.
You got 3 nights in a row there then, eh? 25, 26, and 27.
Yeah, so, and no cost,
No.
yeah, which is,
How are you gonna get word out on this one?
And we'd be getting posters put out, and we could
And
call
mail?
up.
Mail
and-
out?
To the local businesses.
Mm.
Everybody's fine with that?
Yep.
All right, then that moves us on into question period. Any questions this evening? And we'll go right into the communications. Anything on communications you want to talk about?
This is an interesting, number 7 there.
yeah,
I'd kind of like to know a little more about that one, like, in regards to railway right-of-ways taxes, tax revenue collected by municipalities in Ontario. Like,
Yeah.
how the hell do you know how that goes down?
It goes, what it would, from what I understand, it's the amount of track
Acreage?
you have within your community,
Right.
and you would be taxed on that.
and the tonnage that goes through your community.
I thought it was per
Yeah.
train what went
Yeah,
through, they would
ton-
monitor the
tonnage,
trains, yeah,
tonnage,
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
You sure?
yeah, it says that,
That's
in-
what
it
I
says that in
understood it
here
to be, yeah.
somewhere. But this was brought up at NOMA, or it was the last, I think it was our I mean, it
So one
was
of
into
the-
one, yeah,
yeah.
so, yeah, it was brought up.
But it's been brought up at Roma too for probably the
Yeah.
past 4 years. where some people are for it, some people are against it.
Well, what would roughly be the revenue on that tax these days?
Well, you don't know. I think the main reason for it, from what I understand about going back a while ago for the process, is they've got a company or corporate citizen in the town that pays very, very little, doesn't contribute very much to the town, unlike the mill would do, right? So they're thinking, well, the trains are going through here, what are we actually getting for it? And people will argue both sides. One side is, well, you're getting jobs, you're getting employment, all the positive things.
So you're telling me that the only thing happening these days is Canadian Pacific is paying taxes on the train station and that's it?
From what I understand, I could be wrong,
Really?
but from what I
Well, that's
understand, that's
kinda-
it. And the way this came out is they were looking at other municipalities that have a main industry. Let's say you have a mine that contributes to municipality, other contribute to municipality, the mill, for instance, in Terrace. But the trains, basically, they just run through here. And they don't really contribute anything else financially except for the jobs to the town, right?
Well,
So they were trying
about
to.
My pension comes to mind.
No,
as
of
soon
course.
as you mention
Yes,
that.
but so do other people who are pensioned. But the idea is, they would, because a lot of trains are going through, some people look at it, because it's loud, it's noisy, but we are a railroad town, so you've always accepted that anyway. But that they want to, it's almost like a toll thing in a way, but it's, like for instance, 1,000 cars go through every day and they charge $1 a day. The town would get some revenue from that. But the only problem with it is if you look at how long the CPR rails are, they go from one end of the country to the other. That means every single town they stop in, they'd have to pay. And that's why the CPR doesn't even want to, CPR
Well, how
rails,
is-
they wouldn't even want to engage in
How is
the
it
idea.
then that the Rainy River District Municipal Association, which doesn't amount to a whole lot, that they're spearheading?
They're spearheading
this
it because they
idea,
see the
and
value. It
it's
would
not-
bring,
You'd think it'd be coming from a place like Winnipeg or wherever.
well, no, the big
Toronto
cities
or
don't
something.
care. It's the small communities where these trains are going through
Well,
and
I'm
they're
sure the
thinking.
big cities
"Hey,
care
there's some
too, but I
money."
mean,
Well,
it's the same thing.
yeah,
Whether
but
it's.
they've got other revenue maybe, as well.
Even
But-
with this, it's like a difficult thing to
It's
even
very tricky.
properly understand what we'd be, asking for if we were even supporting this. It's difficult in the sense that, again, from a business model,
Mhm.
they're able to locate here because they're paying very little. Moment they have to pay way more, like how you were saying, for every small community,
Mhm.
they're gonna choose which communities they're gonna be in.
But see, the
right?
thing is, they're here already historically and have been here for 100 years.
Yep.
So they're not about to really close up.
Yep.
But if pressure was put on them, they could turn around and say, well,
Well,
yeah.
they can go stateside.
Exactly. We're running along the bottom if we wanted
They're
to.
doing some of
Yes.
that now.
No, they
Here,
can.
the railway's obviously paying taxes on the building and the property.
Yeah, about $5,000 a year or whatever.
They pay more than, well,
I don't
Marlene
know
would
what it
know
is. Marlene knows
better than
what it
anyone,
is.
but,
I don't think they contribute a lot. As what do you call it, as a corporate citizen?
As a tax class?
Yeah, no.
There isn't a lot in there, because it depends on what your assessed value is and how they assess the property.
And especially all that land, isn't it crown land that's
So-
owned by the corporation anyway? So
Right
what,
now,
they don't pay
what
to
we're-
taxes
The
to
bigger thing
Schreiber.
right now with the railway, so we receive funding on an acreage basis, which is the length of the line going through, that's how it's paid right now.
yeah.
The bigger thing right now, and other places may get, because it really depends on how you've been set up, and it was many, many years ago how it was set up. I cannot comment on how the tonnage works or doesn't work, but for us, we're paid by the acreage. That rate hasn't changed since 2018, and prior to that, it had been the same rate for eons and eons. So one of the things that municipalities have been lobbying for a very long time was just like the unorganized areas, looking at those tax rates to have those increased. The previous provincial government did look at that and did put increases through to the acreage rate. However, the new conservative government that's in place has confirmed that they will not be putting the rates, the annual increases through as the previous government was going to. So that's sort of the bigger, that's sort of one of the issues for right now as a short-term thing, is that the rate is staying the same. And so that's about $7,000 that we receive for our acreage.
But as Doug mentioned, the station and any other building.
That's tax
is
class.
assessed, it's,
Yes.
anything with assessed value would be taxed as commercial property,
If it
or?
falls into that, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so,
You would think, eh?
yeah.
Well, what are your feelings? Do you wanna support that, or?
There's just so many questions about it.
Yeah.
It would
I mean,
be,
it wouldn't hurt,
Yeah.
but it just seems a little odd that.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna look into it, it's not gonna hurt us, and,
Yeah.
and the railway is gonna state their case, and
Mm.
Yeah.
everyone else is gonna, I mean, there'll be an argument for sure,
Mm.
and,
I'm pretty sure it'll come up at Roma too,
yeah.
Mhm.
this spring. And like I say, it does pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So if you wanna support that, resolution, what's your feelings?
Well, I don't know if you think it's worth it or not. I mean, like you said, it's coming up at all these different conferences.
But if they get support from us, it gives them a little bit more push as well when they do go to the conferences.
True enough.
Another key thing to remember is CPR is our largest employer, so
Will it be looked upon as a slap in the face?
I'm just saying in that sense, it's something to keep in mind. If
If
they
they go
would
south.
take any
Yeah,
potential,
and there are some communities that are
Offense to
worried
it.
about that.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I think just keep an eye on it. I don't know if I would support it right yet.
Maybe table it for now then?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, 'cause,
Okay,
like
I'm
I
fair
say,
with that.
I think they'll be discussing it at Roma, so.
I think if it picks up steam and all
I
that,
know,
we'll be
I
well
mean-
aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of it, really.
Anything else under communications? Okay, then we'll move on to unfinished business, draft zoning bylaw, rezoning cannabis.
yes, so the public meeting is scheduled for 7 PM on February 25th, 2020. And essentially, again, what this is that a new section 5.35 cannabis is hereby added to section 5 for zoning, general provisions applicable in all zones as follows. For the purposes of this bylaw, a licensed medical marijuana facility or a licensed cannabis production facility are prohibited uses in all zones except otherwise permitted through a zoning bylaw amendment. And that no person other than a person who is authorized to do so in accordance with Part 2 of the Cannabis Regulations under the Cannabis Act and the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act shall use any residential premises indoors or outdoors, including accessory, secondary dwelling units or apartments for the growing of more than 4 cannabis plants.
But you can't say that, because according to the information we got last year, if your medical doctor writes you the prescription, let's say, whatever it is, the permit, you can have way more than 4, and you can grow for your friends, and you can all get in on it. That was the problem that the OPP are having right now, policing it, because they've got some people who are going in there and they've got certificates for growing 20 plants, and all of a sudden the cops go by and there's 150 plants in the place. So how would you enforce that? When it doesn't line up with Ontario's policies, actually.
For us, it's mostly about commercial
Mhm.
greenhouses. It's in, I mean, if whatever people are doing, right, that's more than 4 plants and all of that, that would be something that's,
Well,
again.
that's for, from what I understand, the 4
Mitigation.
plants is for recreational use, that you're allowed to have that.
Yep.
But for medical use,
Mhm.
you can have whatever is prescribed to you.
Mhm.
And if your prescription then says that you can have 10,
Mhm.
you can, because you get a special growing permit for that.
But
Yeah.
you wouldn't need any kind of a business license or?
No, this is just for personal use again,
Yeah,
and this
right,
has,
right.
but the problem they were having and what the police were doing is they were clamping down on places that had a couple of 100 plants in there, and they were saying, well, I'm growing it for my friends.
Yeah.
And we've all got permits, and we're putting it all in one place, so all of a sudden you've got a big, huge building with a couple 100 plants in it, and it's
Yeah.
almost essentially a commercial grow house, but it's not because they don't have a
Yeah,
commercial
so that
permit.
would be a police issue or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
this is.
but if it's a police issue, then we can't really legislate for municipally.
For us, it's mostly just commercial, so I mean, I could ask that same question to the planner to see, again, what his thoughts are with regards to the medical use.
The permits, yeah, because that's a whole different ballgame than the commercial use or the personal use.
Now, I have a question on, now, if we pass a bylaw stating that, I mean, nothing's gonna happen, no commercial enterprise will be acceptable unless amendment to the bylaw, the zoning bylaw is made, how difficult is that to do?
To get the
To amend the,
amendment?
yeah.
It's literally the same as this process to put, this whole process is essentially a zoning bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
What we're doing right now to put in the cannabis into the zoning legislation. So it's literally the same thing. What they'd have to do is request that I'm interested in putting this greenhouse. I believe they can do that in any rural zone. So they'd have to again state that they want to put it in there as an exception, and they'd bring it to council, and essentially that allows the homeowners nearby to be aware that, you know, a commercial greenhouse for marijuana would be located next to them. And again, the planner's main thing that he notified there was particularly the smell that is an issue. So in this case, you know, even people having 10 plants and all, I don't imagine should really be an issue, but, you know, it's good to clarify the wording
Right.
to take care of that. So I'll certainly ask him what to do in that circumstance.
Because this bylaw is primarily for the commercial use, right? We're not talking about medicinal or personal.
Not likely.
Yeah.
So if we didn't pass this bylaw, then anyone that came in and was granted a business license to put a grow up in, then the public wouldn't really have any
Exactly.
input. So if we need to make an amendment to this bylaw, then the pros and cons can be discussed in the community.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're not saying no to it.
Yeah.
No,
We're
you wanna-
just,
We're not
just-
preventing them, it's just where they wanna
Yeah,
put it, that's where we have to
exactly.
say.
I'm.
So there's more control over the.
Yeah, that's right.
In terms of business, like, we'd certainly want any business again to locate here in terms of industry.
Yeah,
You're not gonna
exactly.
be so
Exactly.
picky.
That was my question too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it goes back to that. And yeah, I'll research that again, because it says for the purposes of this bylaw, a licensed medical marijuana facility or licensed cannabis. So it does include the medical
Yeah.
marijuana piece. So anyone with regard to, if they're growing more than 4 plants, they should have a license. right,
No,
for that.
from what I understand, you're talking about you grow for commercial sales, and you got permits for that, and you grow for medical sales, and they're two
For
different things.
personal use.
No.
Okay.
If you can grow marijuana in your marijuana farm, you can grow it for commercial use, which means your average Joe can buy it and sell it once you meet all the objectives, whatever. But the medical part is completely different restrictions they have on it. But then that's all commercial. It's commercial medical, it's commercial sale for companies selling marijuana. But the personal use is a whole different ballgame, because personal use can be medical as well. And that's where there's a lot of lines being crossed right now. That's what I was trying to say. With the 4 plants, that applies to you as an individual. If you just want to grow some weed in your house, you can. And that's going to be fine.
Yeah,
But you
but
may
this
have
bylaw
as
won't
many.
affect that.
No, the bylaw won't affect that, because it's only the commercial side of it, yeah.
Right.
But there's still mention in there for medical reasons of only growing 4 plants, and that's not the case from what I understand.
So we wanna bring that back at the next meeting then, get some more answers?
Get clarification
We'll
on
get
that between the,
clarification.
yeah.
Okay.
Because some people think they can grow their own and say, oh, I'm growing it because it's for medical use, but you don't have a doctor's certificate or the permit that you need to grow it for medical use. You're just saying that that's what it's for.
Alrighty, then our property tax allowance for doubtful accounts estimate.
These things never make sense. That's why Marlene has to explain them all the time.
I understand
Yeah, right.
I went in and talked to Marlene about
I
it.
talked to her before too, and I said, oh, because then I was thinking that, oh, there's money was available for something, seeing as it's in doubtful accounts anyways, you could spend it on something else. Remember I talked about that to you before?
So what we're
I
getting
must
out
have
of
walked
this
you
is,
over.
Yeah.
Who said that?
You
So
just make a new column.
Do you want me to explain it? Do you want me to go through it a
Sure.
little bit? So it's an annual exercise that has to be done because all assessment that has value to it, with the exception of the exempt assessment on the return roll, we levy taxes on it, and we include that in the revenue portion of our budget. And when we budget a zero budget, so revenues have to equal expenses. So this is an annual estimate of what accounts I think are uncollectible. And we have to figure out how much for 2020 are we actually levying and including in revenue that it's a very good possibility that we're not going to collect it in 2020, so you have to set that amount up in 2020 as an expense, so it nets out. That's what this exercise is all about. So that estimate right now is at 185,000.
That's just what I was gonna say, that's your,
That's the estimate for 2020. So that'll be the number that will show up on your budget on your fiscal services page when we're going through that section of the budget. That's what this exercise is all about, to make you guys aware of how much money we're estimating that we're levying, that it's likely we're not gonna
It's
collect.
money you're not gonna receive that you're budgeting for, that you're putting in a
That's right.
column to receive to balance it out against
Yeah.
what you
So that's the
are
Coles
gonna
Notes
get.
version.
Yeah.
Any further questions on that? Alrighty, then we'll go to the 2020 preliminary operating budget. Any questions on that?
It's just a bit hard to read because there's not much space between the numbers for 2020 and then the item, what it's called, the item number. It looks like you got one long line here where it's 850-2011-1305, but it's actually 850, radio licenses, for instance. But you're taking this all based on last year's actuals, right? So far.
So this budget has been prepared by your fire department?
Yeah, it's just the fire, no, sorry, not you, Jan, yeah.
But what I would, what I would say is there was I've updated it for the actual insurance costs for 2020, because we do have those in here, and there was one adjustment for, I believe it was the cell phone, wasn't included in 2019, that benefit, so that's been updated in there. And then the rest of it is all Jan.
so I see the biggest surprise here is the training expense. For the actual.
Past year?
Yeah, like the budgeted
Expenses,
training
training
versus, the actual versus the budgeted
Yeah.
was the training expense, so.
Yes.
Was that a surprise, or is that something that you encounter?
It's going to be an ongoing issue over the next few years.
Okay, so
as the
that's-
province mandates more and more mandatory
Right.
training.
Okay,
We're basically in a position right now where everybody has to go away either to Thunder Bay or to Gravenhurst for training.
yeah.
So the training expenses we should expect to climb steadily over the next few years.
So they're not a lot of it's not optional training, it's mandated by the government.
Mandated now. For instance, for somebody to be qualified firefighter 1 now, I've got to give them time on a fire tower. You know,
Right.
and ladders to climb a fire tower and pulling hose up a fire tower.
Yeah.
And that resource just doesn't exist here. So it's gonna get costly to get people trained here.
but overall though, it comes to about a 5.5% increase.
Now, there are 2 items in here that are one-time repair items totaling $2,000 on the 2020 estimates. And that is, there's 1,000 estimated on the repairs to the oldest truck, where several of the gauges have failed, and repairing the pump panel. And there's another $1,000 under the wilderness rescue unit, or pardon me, actually under the trailer, that hauls the wilderness rescue unit,
Mm.
where we've got a aluminum door that's gone rotten because it's bolted with stainless steel screws to a galvanized steel hinge, and the hinges have rotted through. So those items are expected to be one-time only.
That's that 1990 Ford you're talking about, Jen?
Yes.
F-450.
The 1990 Ford, which is sometimes called Pumper One here, it's 1990 Ford in the brackets.
Right.
And yeah, the panel on that, the majority of the gauges are no longer functioning.
Yeah.
So it's getting difficult to figure out what you're doing with that vehicle right now when you're trying to pump water with it.
Under protective equipment and uniforms, when we had our last meeting, Jan, that one that I went to,
Yes.
wasn't there a lot larger request for funds for that because of the increase for the, it was new safety standards or something for the masks and for your tanks, for your oxygen tanks?
Oh, yes, now,
I don't see that on there, it just says, it looks like it turns out to be a very small amount when you look at it. And you were talking about some.
yes, now the
costs.
operating side of that and just getting the air testing done is reflected in there because that cost is only gonna be about $400 for the additional annual test.
Mhm.
The purchase of the actual air tanks
Mhm.
is gonna be in the capital.
Oh, yeah, that's of course.
And
for
not the
other one,
operating.
Yeah, okay, this is operating, yeah.
Any other questions on that? Alrighty, then we'll move on to council life events recognition policy.
So the main thing to look at here is the table that I've put in on, should be the third page down,
Mhm.
right at the last page. Basically what I've done is I've added in a new section on the table that scales a retirement award based on years of service. And again, everything I've entered in right now is just a number for the sake of having a number in there. Don't necessarily have to agree to the amount. If you want to change that, you can certainly change that. It's just put in as a placeholder.
Does that amount reflect the past practice, or is that just a number?
I can't really remember with regards to the
Yeah.
past practice. As myself, I haven't been here too long. I don't know, Cecile, it's been all over the place.
Yeah, okay.
I know last year, two people grabbed me to say, my parents just had a 60th anniversary and we didn't even receive a card for the town. And how do you stay on top of that? Because sometimes you just don't know, we don't have someone.
Yeah, families have to know.
You think they would notify
Yeah,
us
yeah.
and phone in, but there seems to be, especially last year, there was two occasions. One was a birthday, an 80th birthday, and a 60th anniversary. And two people, they came up to me and they said, "Oh, we didn't even get a thing or anything about our 60th anniversary." But I think they kind of assumed that somebody in town is supposed to know about it. But how would you?
No, I
You don't
think-
actually have
Yeah.
a department to look after
No.
dates and things, yeah.
No, they'd have to contact the town.
So I think we should also make some kind of an awareness thing then for people that these things are here for these different events, but that they should contact the town. And I think it goes back to maybe when the town was smaller, we had, you go back to people like Heinrich McQuaig in the old years, everybody knew whose anniversary was coming up and they would tell somebody anyways, but
Put it in a newsletter.
in the newsletter or something.
Yeah.
You could put it on Facebook, your Facebook page.
Well,
and
see,
your
now we
websites.
can, yeah. But I'm just saying that people
Just
don't,
say if you
people
have-
have this assumption that the town is supposed to somehow know, like we have a record keeper who says, oh, it's Joe's 60th birthday, make sure he gets a card, but we don't. And I don't know, we don't have, yeah.
No.
Could do that, put a blurb in there.
Sounds good.
Because it's not that we don't recognize them, it's just that you just don't know. If you knew, you could do it.
Pretty much.
But then they get angry and they say, well,
I
the
would have.
town is, I don't know. You gotta, it's a two-way street then.
I mean, there was the circumstance before, right, where it was someone's 90th
Yeah.
birthday and they had put in a request.
Yeah.
Just any sort of request coming through, certainly see it. So with regards to everything that's put there, is that fine, or is there any changes?
Are these just additions? Because why is there only a 50th anniversary?
We're up there.
Is there no 60 or 70 or
No.
40?
Oh, okay. I guess the
It's always,
service.
it's always only been the 50th.
Oh, okay.
That's for weddings, right? You're looking
Yeah,
at? Oh, okay.
wedding anniversaries, because some people hit their 60th anniversary, especially around here.
And I didn't change anything else besides just that employee service section, so
No.
that's it.
I would just, on your 35 years.
Yep.
It's just my opinion, I would go 5.
Hmm.
$500.
Yeah, and after 35. And the rest, looks
So,
like you did a pretty good job.
so is there,
So is that a service award you're talking, or a retirement award?
well, that's a retirement award, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
There's both, eh? There's a service award, which is that, and then the retirement.
Yeah, so you'd be getting both, one for service, one for,
Mm.
again, retirement, so.
Mm.
So someone would get, for example, $700.
Yeah.
For retiring, if they have 35
Yeah,
years.
35 years and they retire,
And
they
they
would get
retire.
the service award and the retirement award, yeah.
For instance, some people may get the service award only if they move away from the town and don't retire
Oh,
okay.
in the town. So let's just say you work in here for
Mm.
10 years, you'll get the 10-year service award.
Mm.
But because you didn't retire in the town, then you
So
wouldn't
at
get
at
the
35,
retirement
okay.
award. You find another employer somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's the, it doesn't necessarily guarantee everyone would get both.
Right.
Everybody fine with that then?
It's
Okay.
good to have it clarified.
Going to other business now, the NOMA Conference and Annual General Meeting.
So the cost is $500 per person.
And it's moved to Fort Francis now, eh, as well.
Yeah.
Oh, he says it.
No, it was Thunder Bay last time.
Yeah, but the way you said it, it's being moved.
No, that's what I mean, yeah, because somebody said when they moved it there, the biggest concern was accommodation for hotel bookings. Would they have enough space for everybody who was gonna invade on that weekend?
Yeah, because.
No, because they've got this going on.
Yeah, a game.
That's right, too. Yeah, the hockey tournament.
Yeah, the timing
So,
is.
who is planning on attending?
I am.
I don't think I'll be there. Wait, I might be there. Not at the town.
Dan or Doug?
That's April 29.
Yeah.
You're what?
Yep.
And we're going in August somewhere too, are we not?
You want Ottawa
Yeah.
In August.
in August, yeah.
When do you have to know by? I guess.
It's not anytime soon.
Anytime, not anytime soon?
Well, it's 2 months away. April?
But in order to book everything.
The rooms are booked.
The
We've
rooms are
got
booked.
rooms booked for all council.
Oh, you did it.
And you can
Yeah.
you can cancel them without any kind of,
Yeah.
okay.
You just pass a resolution just for all of
Mm.
council
Yeah.
to attend for tonight, and then you can let me know whether
Yeah,
you're
okay.
attending or not.
Okay.
What is the time to drive there if you decided to drive? It's a lot.
7 hours?
7 or 8, yeah.
7 to 8 hours, yeah.
And
I think, eh?
how do you?
Adam, what do you think?
It's about 4 hours from Thunder Bay to Fort. It's about, 2 hours from here, so about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a time change in there too, so you
Yeah.
get basically
Yeah.
time travel at the most rudimentary level.
Yeah. Okay, hurt you on the way back.
Yeah, you age. An extra hour.
Alrighty, then, next up is the Cemetery Committee.
The,
Go ahead.
okay. I was approached by a member who thought he was a member of the cemetery committee, but I guess when we did the committees, back when we first got on council, we never went through the rituals or whatever you wanna call it.
No committee was struck.
No committee was struck, so I mean, so we can't have a meeting right now, so we have to go through
Don't have a committee mandate either.
we gotta go through the proper procedures to,
I remember putting my name in way back when. I don't know. Apparently it's not
Well,
there.
isn't the cemetery committee the
Like
same
when
ones
you-
that did all the
when,
flowers around the graveyard and
No,
stuff?
that's a beautification.
Oh, that's beautification. Who held the lights festival then?
beautification.
Oh, okay, so they.
But when you appointed the heads of the,
Mhm.
I was appointed the head of the cemetery committee.
Yeah. The one
I
person.
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, so it took me a year to find out, but
That there is no committee.
There's no committee, yeah.
But,
Well,
yeah, we
it's
got-
not on that list of,
It
Yes,
is-
it is.
Yeah, it
I'm
is,
just
but the
saying.
committee was never properly.
No.
There was no mandate developed, there was no
Mm.
committee struck, there was no appointments done, because there was only one person that put their name forward.
That's right, yeah.
So we have to go ahead and do all that.
well, I don't know, I
Right.
put my name forward, but I don't know where that ever got to, or I can't remember when and how I did that, but I definitely did.
Yeah, you did, because you were on the committee. You were on two committees, and one of them you were also on.
No, that's
something else?
that's something different.
anyway, we gotta do what we gotta do here.
Yeah, okay,
And advertise.
and advertise, right. Alrighty. And the last thing is the grant and aid application from the North Shore Harvest Cupboard.
So the request here is to waive the $700 community hall rental fee so that they can make money from their proceeds to,
It's actually the $645.90, that's,
$645?
that's in brackets there beside it is the actual.
The real amount.
When they fill out the application, they put an estimated cost.
I'm good with that.
How does everybody feel about that?
Well, it's because it's for the food bank, I think we have to support them, yeah. It'd be different if it was like a private function or
For
something.
the May 2nd, okay.
And that new price, because remember we had an older price that was cheaper, but that now includes that liability insurance we were forced to take for events, I think.
I think that's just for alcohol, but that was never fully passed yet, so.
No, but that was, I thought it was for any event.
For any
where there was
event?
gonna be liability. There'll be no alcohol at this thing then?
I don't believe so.
You know, it's a tea,
Pie
Pie sale. Pie sale and tea.
Pie and penny auction, yeah.
Pie and- Where is this
So there
taking
probably won't
place?
be alcohol.
It'll be at the rec
There might
center.
be alcohol in the pie.
And the purses under the table and the, but not for sale.
Not for sale.
It's tea.
Special tea.
So everybody's fine with that then?
Yeah, I think so, because that's for
Yeah,
the,
for sure.
for the food bank.
Well, then, before we move into adjournment, I'd like to thank Councillor Crouse for his time. We appreciate it, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, okay? There you go.
I appreciate it. I don't have a speech, so.
Yeah. Love you.
Say-
Oh, come on.
No, I don't. I didn't do this. Thanks.
That surprises me, you don't have a speech.
That's
Okay,
surprising too.
I can make something up. It was really interesting, but also a lot of fun working with you guys and doing this for the year. You know the story behind it, why we've got to split away now. But the one thing, I'm hoping that we see a lot more of each other, because you know that part of our mandate is to cover council
Yeah.
meetings and things like that. So hopefully you'll be welcoming, I say us, as the Schreiber Media Center,
Yeah.
to take part in some of the
Yeah, for sure.
the, what do you call it? The dispersion of information and,
Yeah.
and stuff, so. Oh,
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're always trying to promote the community.
No.
Anything,
Yeah.
that'll help with doing it.
Well, I think it's gonna be a really, really good project for the town, I believe, and I think Donna also believes in it. It'll definitely, hopefully put us on the map a little bit and add up to our profile, so.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting out there and
And I
hopefully
think a
we
lot
can
of
get
people.
good news out and stuff.
Looking forward to it too.
Yeah.
See what it's gonna,
We don't really know yet, it's a gamble, but it's a gamble that I
It's a
was
work in
willing to take the
progress,
risk,
right?
so
Yeah.
why not, take a shot.
Get out, get out there, do the events like you covered the,
For the graveyard, that was
the
the,
light up the night event and put some,
we wanna do way more of those kinds of things too.
Well, when we went
put it
to,
there on
coverage.
Yeah.
And we went to Roma, one of the keynote speakers was Terry O'Reilly, and you listened to that,
Oh, yeah.
and he, I mean, he's a storyteller, and he talked about how important it was for your community to tell their story,
Yeah.
or have their story, or take control of your story.
Yeah, media literacy.
And, you know, that really struck home with me, that that's something that we really need to get out there.
Yeah.
That's a golden opportunity for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
The one negative thing that I've heard is they said, well, what if you go into a council meeting, you cover it, and you don't like what's being said, if there's an argument? And I said, well, you have to present both sides, and you have to be neutral, so hopefully, everybody comes out ahead in the thing. But
Okay,
thanks very
then
much,
we,
it was really,
yeah.
it was an honor
Thank
to
you
work
for
with
your
you
time,
guys,
yeah.
and I think David's gonna do a great job.
Yes, I think we will too. Yeah. So, resolution number 49-50, moved by Councillor Stefurek, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that the meeting now adjourn at 8:32 p.m. All in favor?
You lost.
I was way off,
You were way off.
but I am pleasantly.
I can explain the whole railway if you want. I can explain the whole railway.
Yeah.
Literally,
You're
I've
getting to be
been
more
covering it
efficient.
for like 2 years.
She was
It
convinced it
was,
was 10, because all the
basically,
items
it was
are.
charged pence per mile.